Chris, you know, the tagline, "We're not your grandfather's steel building company," I'm not sure I like that. You know, just being recently a new grandfather, I don't feel that old. You know, I think we're still young at heart.
I'm surprised you're a new grandfather.
So am I, you know, I'm so young.
Yeah.
I started early. But we're a different type of company. And say that, I think it was Buick that had that tagline, "What, not your grandfather's Buick" type of thing, or your father's Buick. We are different.
Yeah, I mean, what I keep hearing over and over again from our clients, and I've heard it recently in these past couple of days, is they've never had an experience like this before.
Yeah, and I think they mean a good experience, right?
A good experience.
No, absolutely, I'm just joking there. But you're right, haven't had an experience like that, and I can't say enough about Allied, how they care, how they take care of us, and I think that's a bit different from other companies. And I've been other places, you worked with other companies, you know how it works.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, traditionally you have your steel suppliers, right? You send them drawings, you send them specifications, they send you your steel, and that's it. What we've seen over and over again is our clients like to partner up with us in the beginning of the project. Even if it's not fully developed, they'll get us involved early. They'll get ideas flowing. We'll help them with column placement, clearances and things like that. So really, Steve, we're not just a steel supplier at that point.
Right.
We're a partner from the beginning.
And that's a key for us, right? That's the best person for us to work with, a partner. Somebody wants to partner with us, like you said, and lay it out. Sometimes it's just, I need a building that's going to be 100,000 square foot. What does it look like? I don't know. You tell me. What do you think is the best way? Well, then we start asking some questions. What are you going to do inside? What do you need for clearance? What do you need for spacing? Do you have racks? Are you doing logistics in there? And kind of work there. And we've done all these buildings. We said, well, we did a project here, worked out really well. How about this for an idea? And a lot of time customers don't have a good view in their mind. They can't really see it. They know what they want. We show them pictures of things we've done or other projects. They go, that's exactly what I want. And that's a great way to partner with us.
I agree, Steve. And you know, in the end, it works for our clients. They're excited about it. And to be completely honest with you, it excites us as well. We don't want to be material suppliers and just ship out parts. We want to be a partner with the project.
Absolutely, and that's where, you know, we're with you all the way. And then when the front end part, delivery of steel, after the fact, be on the job site, all things we do at Allied, which is just a little bit different than everybody else.
Absolutely.
Chris, talking about, you know, what customers can't really see what their project's going to look like. So what are some things we do to help them visualize it when instead of just a 2D piece of paper and go, I can't really see what that looks like? There are a few things we've done for them in the past.
Yeah, of course, especially in a design build type situation where really we're just getting the land restrictions and this is how big my building can be. Once we get through the initial pre-design phase, we really want to start sending out some renders, some BIM models, start really spinning the building around for our clients so they can get a visual 3D representation of exactly what they're going to be inside one day.
Yeah, and I think we even have some where we can actually do a fly-through, you know, a quick little animation where you can see what the building is, fly into the door, look at what the building looks like, and get a good feel for what the building's going to be on their site.
Sure, and that's just pre-construction. Post-construction, you give that model to an erector or an installer on an iPad. It just makes it so much easier. You're not looking at 2D connections now. You're actually out there in the field looking at the connection, ensuring that it's right. It helps everybody all across the board. Some of the positive feedback I've been getting lately is in regards to our team after the design has been finalized and we start moving forward with the project.
Yeah, Chris, I think what we do different than other people, we don't just assign it to a project manager or a technical project manager who happens to be open. We look at what the project is, who the end customer is, what the complexity looks like, and assign the right project manager and the right technical project manager for that project to make sure that it runs smoothly. It's not just first in, you grab it off the shelf and I start working on it. It's, does it fit for me as a project manager, for your customer also? So I think that's why we get good feedback, that we've lined those up to make those work successfully.
There's one line of communication through our project managers, but a lot of our clients are surprised to have visibility of the team that's behind that. Our technical project managers who oversee the engineering and the detailing, our logistics managers who oversee the delivery. Everybody, it's a team effort here at Allied to deliver the project.
We'll be on the conference call. Sometimes we'll have 5, 6, maybe even 7 Allied folks in there that have different backgrounds and experiences that can help the customer decide, what do I want to do, how do we make the project more successful. Yeah, let's talk logistics a little bit too. It's a huge thing in today's world, right? Trucking, shipping, especially internationally, is not an easy thing to do, and Allied does it real well, and we've done it well for a long time, because you talk about a little bit why we've done it so well.
Well, I mean, look, we've spent 20 years building up our supply chain. So whether it's a pandemic or a war or whatever's going on in the world, we've always been able to diversify our supply chain and find different solutions for different obstacles. Most recently, during the pandemic and the steel shortages and the price increases, there was a lot of lead times out there, 36, 42 weeks.
54 weeks, 56 weeks.
56 weeks. We were still able during that time to deliver in 16, 20 weeks, timelines like that. And it's because of our diverse supply chain.
Yep, I think talk about what old school would do, would sit back and go, we're just gonna sit and wait for timelines to get back in order. Well, right now we're at 50 some weeks to get you, whether it's joist and deck or even a steel building, whatever that may be, and we're gonna wait for the timelines to come back in. That didn't work for us. That doesn't work for our clients. We had to go find something else. And you mentioned something. We've been doing it for 20 years. You don't just all of a sudden, pandemic hits, a war hits, whatever happens, that all of a sudden we're gonna go find somebody else to help us, to partner with us, to make your project successful. You've got to have that. You have to have years of experience doing that. And so that's why we could do it, and nobody else really could do that.
Yeah, for sure. And you started seeing some crazy things in the market, right? Like instead of joists, people were using hot rolled or heavy materials, and their project weights were going up 40, 50% because you could not get joists. But what did we do?
We found a supplier that could help us. And we had customers of ours saying, how do you guys get joist and deck when nobody else can? So we've been working with these other vendors of ours around the globe for the last, like I said, 20 years, but really in the last 15 years really taken off. And I think that's a key for us. So that's why we are different. That's why we can do things others can't. And that's why the project is more successful with Allied.
Yep, I keep hearing our clients say, you guys are flexible, you guys are resourceful. And really that didn't just happen overnight. We've been building these relationships around the globe for 15, 20 years now.
And it's got to be, I think nimble is a good word for Allied. We're not this big company that we have to be, follow all these different rules. If we want to change something, we can. And who knows what's going to happen in 2023 or 2024? Something. We've had wars, we've had pandemics, we've had supply chain issues, we've had all kinds of different things. And if you just sit back and wait for things to get normal, I'm not sure it gets normal again. It's not so much what we say, Chris, it's what we do. And the hardest part is to show somebody what you can do. And that's difficult. If they haven't worked with you in the past, how do you tell them, how do you show them that you can help them out? You get the opportunity. I think that's where we shine at Allied. We can show them what we can do, but until we have that, how do we get that opportunity? What are we doing different out there to get that opportunity? What are some of the things we do?
So a lot of our clients are doing big, exciting things around the world, and they just don't need a metal building, they need a solution. And what we've been able to demonstrate is that it's part of our culture to offer that solution in a very flexible way.
Yeah, I think when you talk about big things, not just big things like big buildings, we're talking things that are, that have never been done before, right? Whether that's, I can't really talk about some of the things they're doing because of it's confidential, but the things that have never been done in the world before, they're doing, and we're helping them achieve that goal. But the culture, I think that's a key thing. When we bring people in and sit down with Allied and sit down with our team, whether it's the project managers, from Mike Lassner, our president, CEO, all the way down to everybody working here at Allied, they see how we are, what our culture is, and I hear this time and time again. I like what you guys are doing. We're like that. We're doing things different. You guys are different. We want to team up with you because I think we gel great together. And I think the culture at Allied really meshes well with some of these companies, especially the ones that are doing just different things that have never been done before.
Sure. And we get the question all the time, how are you going to do what you say you're going to do? And the answer is this. I mean, our process and the way that we do things is different than other companies in the industry. You see a lot of linear processes in the industry, right? Like, we can't do this until we do this. Right. We won't do this until you do that. We can't do this until you do that. And what that does is just drag out the entire timeline of the project.
Yeah, we're not a check the box type of company where the job comes in, we got a checklist, all of these check marks got to happen. We will start in the middle. We will start at the end. We'll work backwards. We'll work any way it works for their project. But the check the box type of companies, which are still a lot out there and they do well, they have a lot of that's just not our type of business.
Yeah, I mean, some of these things won't get accomplished that way. So our processes, a lot of times they overlap, and we have multiple teams working on the same thing at once that are doing different parts of the project, whether it's engineering or detailing or even booking the logistics.
Yeah, and it's flexibility and what works for the project, and it's being able to look at it differently and say we don't have to do it the same way. And I think that's what makes Allied so much different than other companies.
I agree. So you know what types of projects excite me, Steve?
What's that, Chris?
And types of clients that excite me? Clients that are doing something that's never been done before. That's exciting.
That is cool.
And so a lot of times the project is not fully thought out yet, right? I mean, these are new ventures, these are new technologies.
They haven't done it in the past. They don't have a footprint to go from, right?
Exactly. So now we're helping turn that vision into a reality, and we enjoy being a key part of that planning session, saying, okay, I need X amount of square feet, but how is this going to flow through the facility? Where do the columns need to be? What are my clear heights? Did you think about this? Did you think about that? Oh no, now we've got to raise the building 30 foot taller because of this, because of something that changed dynamically through their process, because again, it's never been done before.
And I think that's a good point, because we have had projects where that project started out at 40 foot tall, and then went to 60, and then we got one that was up to 90, because their process changed on what they were manufacturing, and it was something that had never been manufactured before, right? Maybe 50 years ago, but it's still different nowadays. So they're changing their process, they're changing how they want the flow of the materials, and so can we adapt on the fly and still deliver? And that's the key. Can you make these change, and we have to go back and do a redesign, a redetail, and get it back into the plant to figure out how do we get it delivered on time for them, because they still have a production cycle they got to make. Chris, with our software we have for design and detailing, really, I think the best way to say it is just poke the button.
Yeah, it's push button.
Push button.
Right.
Say I want it 90 foot tall. You hit the button. Boom.
Right.
Done. There's nothing to it. I mean, really, it's just done. Typically, lead times, we can't really control those. But how do we navigate through extended lead times, logistics issues, whether it's trucking, whether it's steel procurement? What do we do different at Allied that gets us around those lead time issues?
Well, you want to sit down with the project at the beginning and figure out what schedule is right for this project. And it could be anything from we've got to get out of a lease and get into this structure by a certain time, or this product needs to come out by a certain date. So really, you take that drop dead date and you work backwards. How long is it going to take us to fabricate the structure? How long is it going to take to do drawings? How long is it going to take to engineer it? And then what processes there can we overlap?
Right.
What can we get started early? What can we plan early on in the project that can help achieve these requested schedules?
And sometimes they don't need the whole building there all at the same time, right? And actually, sometimes that's a bad idea because it's too much steel. So we'll get what part do you need first? What do you need to get into? And then a lot of times it'll come down to, well, it's a piece of equipment that's coming from Germany or it's coming from Italy, and it's going to be here. We don't want it sitting outside. Can we get this section of the building done first? So let's get that done. So it's not just all about lead time. It's about sequencing and getting the right part of the building there when we need it.
Exactly, and it's important that we help plan with that client early, because what happens then? Now we're modeling and we're detailing in those specific sequences, in those phases. So we're working with the client on what's most important to get out there first. We're working with the installer on their own erection sequence. And of course, we're planning our process the entire way on how to get the most critical part of the structure out there first.
Yep, and that's how the project works. Sometimes people say, I want the building out here, I need it, and say, pick a number, 12 weeks. Well, then you start backing up, well, have you done, and we work with the customers and the clients saying, have you done this? Is the pad ready? Well, and you start backing it up, and once we start working with them, oh yeah, I need more time than 12 weeks to get the pad ready, to get the concrete in, to get the driveways in, all that stuff. So sometimes it's backing up and just talking about realistically, what do you need? What we hate to do is have it deliver and sit there weeks and months on end. It's not a good thing for anybody to have the steel sitting there.
So Steve, we had a big project recently, about 1 million square feet with incredibly tight timelines. How did we accomplish that?
Yeah, that was a tough one. We had multiple buildings, very complicated buildings out, by the way, too. We're just talking to our lead tech guy here, just told us we had 12 different teams working on it, right? Different people across the U.S., outside of the U.S., different engineers. I think we had 3, 4 different engineers working on it to deliver. And they wanted different buildings at the same time to deliver. They had 4 crews out there working. They had 100 people on site putting steel up. It was very difficult, very demanding, and it was probably the fastest paced 1 million square footer building I think I've ever seen.
And how many factories do we have fabricating simultaneously?
You know what, I added up. I know we have at least 4, if not 5 different factories working for us.
Yeah, so that's a testament to our diversity and our creativity, right? So we're not always linear. In fact, we're hardly ever linear.
Yep. We do a lot of things concurrently. Same time, working in different factories, different manufacturing. It's a little more difficult for our project managers to keep track of it all. They would love to be able to say, hey, we'll just do one piece and do the next piece and the next piece. It doesn't work. the project would delay too long. It would take a year to get it delivered out there. We need to overlap and deliver in about 20 weeks, which was a lot of steel. We were talking about that million square footer in San Antonio. They had a deadline. They wanted to start manufacturing product, trucks as it were, I guess, by January 4th. And that was a tight timeline. We had less than 12 weeks from start to finish when the steel hit the ground, to erecting it, to actually start getting all the equipment and the robotics and everything in there and start running product. So that's why we had to do all these different things at the same time.
Yeah, and it's not in our culture just to say no. If we're saying no, we have investigated it and we have a very good reason to say no. But other than that, we're going to try to find a way to make it work.
Right. I think it's a good point. If it's not a good fit for us, and there's been projects that this is not really a good fit for us and Allied, or whatever the reason that would be, and we'll tell somebody, maybe you should really go talk to somebody about this, a different way of looking at it, or they've got it set up so it should be done a different type of construction. And I have no problem telling somebody that, and they really think it's unique that we tell them, no, we maybe you should just do it like this, whether maybe it's out of concrete, maybe it's out of wood, depending on what type of building it is that they already had set up. So finding the right project and also finding what projects aren't a good fit for us. A couple things we do different at Allied, Chris, is we like to be there on site if we can. If it's a project of a decent size and it makes sense for us to be out there, or the customer requests us to be out there. On that project in San Antonio we were talking about a little while ago, I was on site at least 30 times during that year we were delivering steel, or they were erecting steel. That's something Allied does that other companies just won't do.
Yeah, we had a recent project of about 2,000 tons, and we had a revolving crew of our project management, TPM, myself, you, our president, down there in that job trailer, right? And so the client really appreciated that. And what struck me is the installer was kind of astonished, because he was used to working with other companies. He's like, you guys are in my trailer every day for the past 2 months.
Yeah, and they said other companies wouldn't do it. They said, just give us a call. We'll get on the video, and video works fine. But when you sit down next to somebody and you're talking about what the issue is, or there's an interference with somebody else's trade out there, and you go and look at it and say, here's how we fix it, versus sending photographs back and forth, trying to explain it on a piece of paper. If you're there, it's easy to solve. Yep,
absolutely. It's a lot different than when you were starting out and you had to fax things back and forth, right?
That's a shot at me for my age. Been doing this for 33 years. We had faxes, we had pagers. I had pagers back in the day.
Yeah.
In fact, Chris, when the fax machine came out, that was a wonderful invention. Before that, we had to send things by mail back and forth.
Right.
And before that was a horse and buggy.
Yeah, and then the Morse code.
Yeah, Morse code. That's right.
We look for the interesting projects that make an impact onto the world, and we look for partners on all of our projects. Because again, we just don't want to be a steel supplier sending out parts. We want to help you develop your vision.
Yeah, and there's some great things going on in the world today. There are different companies out there doing innovative things, and I think those are what everybody finds very exciting. And like I said, we're not just doing steel. I don't want our detailers or engineers, well, I'm just doing a little building. No, it's somebody's livelihood, it's somebody's vision, it's somebody's there's some really cool entrepreneurs out there doing things that we're helping them get to their end goal.
100%. Yeah, so a lot of times we'll be presented with opportunities from clients or project managers who've never done a pre-engineered metal building before. And maybe they're very well versed in structural steel and maybe even be a structural steel fabricator. But where we've really shined lately is doing projects that are really outside the norm for our industry.
Right.
Recently doing a building that's almost 100 feet tall with a 50-ton crane in it. Where typically our industry won't go over 60 feet.
Right, I think the customer that brought that to us was working with another steel supplier before, and they said they wouldn't do that project, so it didn't fit inside of their box, didn't check the boxes for them, was something outside of something they were comfortable doing. And they came to Allied and said, can you guys do this? And said, why not?
Well, we're already doing it.
We're doing it, right? We are doing it. And I think one of the key things we always say is if it's got steel in it, we will look at it. We'll do it.